Okay, my name is Hannah Turner. I am a teacher at Argyle Middle School.
All right. What do you teach?
I teach ESOL levels 2, 4, and 5. I've been teaching ESOL for 7 years. I taught for 3 years abroad, and my other 4 years have been here at Argyle.
What were you using before for curriculum, and why did you decide to make the change to standards aligned curriculum?
Before using the standards aligned curriculum, we were using curriculum resources called Milestones. And when we were looking at the data of how students were performing and progressing through the WIDA levels, we found that students weren't progressing at the rate that we would expect and that we would like to see. And so this past summer, our instructional specialists in the county went looking for a curriculum that would better meet the needs of our students, and we decided to use this Engage New York curriculum. The biggest modification right now is time. We take longer on certain activities as students explore the concepts, as students grapple with the language in the texts, as we have more class discussions about what is occurring, because it is not always clear to a non-native speaker what is happening in the text that we're reading. Besides that, we incorporate various scaffolds, and so students have access to technology at the school. We are a one-to-one school where every student has access to a Chromebook, and with that, we are able to build in supports for students to better access the assignments, the activities, the texts. Sure. So with the resources that WIDA provides, I'm able to see what students at each linguistic level are expected to already be able to do and what they need to do to reach the next level. And as students are completing their work in the Engage New York curriculum, I am asking them to align the work that they produce to the WIDA language production rubric that we have been provided. And so students may provide an answer that is correct in its content, but is not indicative of advanced language. So I may ask them to go back and revise their work to show evidence of knowledge of academic language or a certain sentence structure or certain grammatical concepts. Right. I would say in my experience, the ELA classes do focus on content answers. If a student produces a response that is correct according to the content, then that is sufficient to show mastery. In this class, I am mainly looking for a response that has the appropriate language, but because we are using a standards aligned curriculum, I am now also looking for a response that has the correct content. And so it's the marriage of language and content that really sets this class apart, not only from their ELA class, but most of their content classes. With the technology, I feel that I am better able to plan lessons that reach all students, and students are better able to access this rigorous curriculum. I'm able to implement scaffolds that I wouldn't otherwise be able to. So I can pre-record any number of items that when students receive it, it is then acting as one-on-one support. Students are also able to access these scaffolds outside of the school day. And so if I have created a video that explains what is expected of students, or I am creating a video that shows them how to revise their work, they don't need to be sitting with me in this classroom in order to access that support, nor do I need to be in this classroom to provide it to them. I would say that what I have learned is students will meet the expectations that you set for them. And before I used a standards aligned curriculum, before I really took a look at the rigor that I was providing to students, students did not perform as well in my class. And when I set the bar higher and I helped them reach that bar, they rose to the challenge. And so this year, more than years in the past, I think students are I don't think. I see that students are performing better than students at this level have.
Need to know.
Instructional leaders need to make English language learners a priority. That's the first step. And I can say that I work in a building where 3 years ago when our principal came, he decided that English language learners would be a priority. And there were structural changes that he could make within the building to make that happen. And I would say that most principals believe that English language learners are a priority in their building, but do they see someone representing those students at leadership meetings? What are they doing intentionally with schedules to make sure each student receives individual attention in their schedule? They're not receiving blanket changes that are not most appropriate for them. And if instructional leaders choose to make English language learners a priority, even before they adopt an aligned curriculum, they will see improvement. And then on top of adopting aligned curriculum, it will be huge. I would say race and bias comes in everywhere. That's why Montgomery County has decided to place a spotlight on these things. That's why Argyle Middle School for the past several years has been placing a spotlight. Just today, all teachers in the building are attending a training in which they are able to discuss what implicit bias is and how it impacts teaching and learning in the building. And the idea is, with implicit bias, you don't realize that it's impacting anything until you start to talk about it. And when you look at the impact it can have on students, and when you start to ask students how they feel impacted and what they feel the sense of community is in the building, you're going to be better able to create a plan to approach those things. And so this morning we were looking at school climate data. We asked students how they felt in the building, and we looked at their responses. Students said they felt honored and respected by their teachers, but they didn't feel that there was enough community building in the classrooms. With that feedback, we know as staff that we will be looking at doing more community building in the classrooms. And sometimes it is just as straightforward as that. Asking someone what they think and choosing next steps based on that feedback. When students are collaborating, I provide them with the reason as to why they're doing that. They have a purpose. They know what the purpose is. It is communicated to them in a variety of means, and they are expected to conduct this collaborative conversation or work session using language that has been provided either directly by me or indirectly in the text. And it's through the use of the graphic organizers that Engage New York provides especially that we are able to make sure we stay on track with the academic language we want to see in class. Mm-hmm. In the class that you will see today, I would say that students do not have to think about whether or not they want to use English. Most students default to English, especially as a result of the amount of time they've been living in the United States. In classes with English language learners who are newer to the country, it is dependent upon what the purpose of the assignment is. And if the purpose of the assignment is to use a certain set of academic vocabulary, then I need to hear that academic vocabulary. If the purpose of the assignment is to put together a storyboard and they want to converse in their first language as they decide what will be in that storyboard, that's absolutely fine, because at the end of the day, I'm collecting the storyboard, which was what was expected of them. This is the first year that I have used a standards-aligned curriculum, and it's the first year I've used a very interesting and engaging curriculum. And so I find that I am able to focus more on the scaffolds that I provide to students as opposed to just what I am providing students. I don't have to search through as much content and as many resources to see what I want to bring into the classroom. Engage New York has already done that for me. So now I'm able to sift through the lessons and think about where students will get stuck and plan for those moments. So either through visual aids or videos or connections to something that is more familiar to them. By looking at the lessons that have already been created, I am able to focus more on what the individual students will need to access everything in the lesson. We decided to use A Long Walk to Water and Liddy based on the group of pilot teachers and what the needs were in all of our classrooms. At the beginning of the year, we weren't sure which direction things were going to go in. My class happens to be all 8th graders, but in other classrooms where the pilot is occurring, it's a mix of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. I was comfortable giving the 7th grade curriculum to my 8th graders though, because in my experience, if I am able to provide rigorous instruction to students and I am able to provide them opportunities to use and develop language, I can use anything at all. If I set the bar high and I help students reach it, I can use anything to help them get there. But by using this particular curriculum, which is engaging and interesting and has many resources already planned for me, I'm again able to focus on making it more individualized.